The oldest settlements on Grand Bahamas. It's a tight-knit community, a place where everyone knows your name. So for the families that survived the storm, and even the ones that didn't, every injury, every broken heart, leaves a permanent scar deep within the Bahamian roots. We're now on the east end of Grand Bahama. This is by far and away one of the hardest hit parts of the island. There's no electricity, no running water, no cellular service. What you see behind me is a fully functioning hospital, and it's the only place you can go if you need help on this part of the island. What you see behind me is a woman that was brought in after she had fainted at her home. She was trying to clean up from Hurricane Dorian when she became overwhelmed with heat and emotion. She lost her great-grandchildren to Hurricane Dorian as she sifted through rubble today. Seeing her clothes and toys was just more than she could bear. She collapsed. This is life in one of the Grand Strands in the Bahamas on day 31. On special assignment, I'm Chief Digital Meteorologist Leslie Hudson in Grand Bahamas for MyRadar. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us on our week-long hurricane series, The Mean Season. Today we're going to tackle some tips you may or may not know that could help you stay better prepared for this year and keep you ahead of the storm. Humans hate uncertainty. We have to know what's going on, when it's going to happen, and we want to know now. Predicting a hurricane's future is something we can't control, but we can control how well we prepare for them. Lesson 1. Wind isn't the major player, though it does grab the headlines. Freshwater flooding is the #1 killer of all hurricane hazards, including the storm surge. Oftentimes, that can lead to people under-preparing for a storm that causes major inland flooding. Hurricane Florence's rains were a catastrophic event for inland North and South Carolina. Yet Hurricane Michael left calling cards 500 miles away from Florida's Panhandle landfall. That included tens of thousands of people without power for weeks. Remember, a tropical storm has a long arm, and its strong winds and tropical rains don't stop at the beach. Lesson 2. Intensity forecasts are a distant second to forecast tracks. According to NASA, hurricane forecast tracks have improved by as much as 30% in just the last 10 years, and that forecast path verifies about 70% of the time. However, intensity forecasts, especially rapidly intensifying hurricanes, is much less accurate. Intensity forecasts have only improved less than 1% a year in the Atlantic Basin since the mid-1980s. The percentage is a little higher in the Pacific Ocean, but not by much. Hurricane Michael was a storm that rapidly intensified. That means Michael's hurricane winds increased by at least 35 miles an hour in a 24-hour period. Computer models hinted 2 to 3 days before Michael's landfall that it would likely become a major hurricane, but very few projections saw Michael becoming a Category 4 or 5 storm. Lesson 3. Don't let hurricane categories dictate your action plan. The Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale is the benchmark in identifying a storm's intensity. The scale allows the Hurricane Center to rate the potential extent of damage based on a hurricane's maximum sustained winds. But the scale is so ingrained in our society that it's often used as a method of motivation, and that can be dangerous. Research shows that residents will often stay for a Category 3 hurricane and only evacuate for a Category 4 or 5. History has shown that can lead to rescue efforts that not only put you in danger, but also the first responders who have to rescue you. Lesson 4. Rethink the risk. Time has shown over and over again that hurricane victims are often not prepared for the storm's magnitude because they never thought an event so severe would happen during their lifetime. Hurricane Harvey was a prime example. Before Harvey hit, more than 80% of Harris County buildings in Texas lacked flood insurance, and 3/4 of the homes that flooded during Harvey were outside the floodplains. Harvey drove home the fact that while rare, massive storms can happen, and when they do, many wish they had better prepared. When all was said and done, Harvey killed at least 88 people and caused over $125 billion in damage, tying for the costliest tropical cyclone on record. Lesson 5. Social media can be a blessing and a curse. During a weather catastrophe, social media can be the fastest way to get the word out about what's going on and where. Breaking weather will quickly trend on social media, which can help people that are in a storm's path. After the storm passes, someone that needs help, for example, can use social media to get the word out. Volunteers who track social media are then able to dispatch volunteers to help with boats and rescues. The volunteers are often able to head straight to the disaster zone, which leads to faster response times. However, it can lead to a lot of confusion as well. Proper safety protocols are not always followed, and volunteers can go into dangerous areas and not know it. Armchair meteorologists or non-trained weather enthusiasts can also falsely under or overplay the dynamics of a storm, and that can spread a tsunami of misinformation like wildfire. Bottom line is, storms can still surprise us even today. They can shatter records, make history, and even defy climatology. Preparing for the unexpected is what will likely keep you ahead of the storm. We hope you enjoyed our week-long hurricane series, The Mean Season, and hopefully offered some insights to get you better prepared for this 2019 hurricane season. Remember, Mother Nature is always unpredictable, powerful, and oftentimes intimidating. It just takes one storm to change your life in an instant. Hopefully, we'll all be prepared to stay ahead of the storms this year. On special assignment in Cocoa Beach, Florida, I'm meteorologist Leslie Hudson reporting for MyRadar.
Aaron, I'm going to ask you a question about that nothing.
For MyRadar, I'm Chief Meteorologist Leslie Hudson reporting from Grand Bahama. Now we're on the east end of the island. This was the hardest hit. They by far away got the highest storm surge and wind Hurricane Dorian delivered. Today we're talking to healthcare officials and hospitals to see how they're caring for the people that got critically injured and need life support
did he change it? I think I'm tossing to him.
Yep.
Believe it or not, this is a medical tent, and it's the only hospital in eastern Grand Bahama where you can get help if you need it. It's about 45 minutes away from the largest city on the island, Freeport.
All right, scratch that, Aaron. I'm going to ask you
Power is spotty at best on the island, and it's a slow
do we have video of it? Is it scripted that way?
dig out of the rubble and build momentum on the long
I just thought since
road
we're doing a
back to
hurricane thing,
recovery.
we should do hurricane.
Most hurricane survivors
So
have
I'll ask you
evacuated
something
this
then
part
about
but
you
there's a
coming here.
steady stream of patients that still
when you
trickle
when you were here,
in
then
all
you
day
drove up
long.
the coast. Does that sound good?
Okay, why don't we?
The medical team thinks there will be a critical need for them to stay on this part of the hurricane-ravaged island for at least another 2 months, if not longer. Rand Memorial Hospital in Freeport is considered a total loss. The hospital took on 5 feet of water after Hurricane Dorian sat
If we
over
at
this
any point
tropical
start to have
island
IFB
for
issues,
more than
kill
a
your
day
Wi-Fi.
and a half.
Okay.
About 300 patients and staff
Will it
had to be
automatically go? I guess it
evacuated.
goes through.
The medical staff
Andy
never
made
thought
another
the
change to the
hospital would
network
flood.
today.
It's 5 miles from the
Yes.
coast.
What? No, I don't hear
no
anybody.
one ever anticipated that Dorian would stall over Freeport for
Uh-oh.
more
Oh,
than
now I hear
30
him.
I can hear
excruciating
you. We all
hours.
put our thumbs up.
Now, during
Well, I
the
didn't hear him
height of
until
the
just
storm,
the
they
second.
knew they had to get the patients out of here quickly, so they came through the cafeteria.
Okay.
But the problem was the gurneys would not fit through, so they knocked down the walls here to get the patients safely out of harm's way and out
So
through those
the
double doors
program
to
is
safety.
not going to be synced up with
The hospital
that.
had just
That
finished a
is delayed as well.
state-of-the-art operating room,
Okay, so
fully
that-
equipped with all the
especially when we are
amenities you
on
would find in
camera.
the United
Right
States.
now, that is what we are
Crazy
seeing,
part of all
but
of this
because
is
it's going off of that
it still
live
looks
view,
like it's in
delayed.
perfect shape
So which delay
until
should we
you see the
follow?
corroded wires
Follow
and
John.
rust where the
Follow
equipment
John.
sat in
the program audio
seawater
is just
for
there so
weeks.
you can hear where we're at, just kind of follow
And
along,
the
but
fact
go
that
by
it's
John's
all
cues.
destroyed
And
is
you can
quite
turn the program
a
on
challenge.
off
If you look
in the
on the
volume.
face of it to a normalize, you
wish
can
there were, like, a
feel
kill switch
someone
right
in
on.
here. The space is clean. There
would be
are
helpful.
equipment monitors in place, but that's only on the surface because it's
We are
all been
live.
destroyed because of the salt water and the corrosion that has
Definitely something when my computer is
caused
connected.
by
Yeah,
sitting in
now
the
it
water.
just went
So
wonky.
as soon as I
A
kill
significant amount of us have worked and
my
built
computer
this
or splash
hospital
top,
for
it
years
messes up. So what I'll do
to
is I'll
make
just
sure that our
open
public
connected.
has the best
Right.
healthcare that we can deliver. So of course it is a challenge
So weird.
for us today that we are out of a healthcare facility and we have to look to the future though with hope.
Did you say you were
that
not
we will
able to
be
hear the show?
returned to a facility that provides proper healthcare for our community.
Sharon says the hospital will have to be torn down soon. They will need to rebuild on higher ground and with tougher building codes. Sharon is relying on the Bahamian government to make good on that promise to build sooner than later. This hurricane season isn't over, and Sharon knows all too well that next year's hurricane season will be here before you know it. On special assignment in Grand Bahama, I'm Chief Digital Meteorologist Leslie Hudson for MyRadar.
The first one was barely.
And right now, live on MyRadar, we are tracking Tropical Depression Cristobal.
We are getting ready to see what this system is going to be doing over the next couple of days. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Leslie Hudson. It is day 4 of our 5-part series, Navigating the Storm. I am joined with meteorologist Stefanie Lauber and Mike Linden, and boy, we are continuing to keep an update on what could be very interesting, you guys, over the next couple of days.
Right, and of course, we're live across all of our social media channels. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So if you're not following, check out the handles below on our screen, and you can find all of our handles right there.
And we are live on YouTube as well. If you're watching here, fantastic. But if not, go to youtube.com/MyRadar. Subscribe to the channel and be sure to click on that notification bell. That way you always know whenever we drop a new video or whenever we are live. Now, of course, tropical depression Cristobal is all the rage right now, and hurricane hunters flew into the storm yesterday. Take a look at this video. You can, of course, see the heavy wind and rain, the lightning as well produced by Cristobal, but the storm was downgraded to a tropical depression at 11 Eastern this morning as it moves over land.
So the next thing with that we're watching for is as it makes this trek over land, of course it's expected to have that weakening, but at the same time, we're waiting for this to reemerge into the Gulf of Mexico, and as most people who live along the Gulf know, that's like bath water. So that's something to watch for indeed.
So what we want to do, you guys, is we want to get you updated on what's going on with Cristobal. So let me show you WSI if I can. We'll take that full and we'll get you updated on what's going on with Cristobal, because as you know, it made it over land yesterday. It's been sitting there, and of course, as it weakened, which all tropical cyclones do as it weakens. And as we head into the next 24 hours, we're expecting it to reemerge into the Gulf of Mexico. That's where, of course, it will tap into its food source and is expected to re-strengthen into a tropical storm. It looks like that the next couple of days will be what we'll be watching is to see how it moves into the central Gulf of Mexico, and again becoming possibly a stronger tropical storm. And as it does, of course, it's going to be bringing a lot of wind and rain across the Gulf Coast and the southeast, and Florida actually getting some of the outer not rotation but outer cloud deck from the larger circle of circulation from Cristobal. So we're dealing with a lot of rain across the Sunshine State today, seeing a big batch of rain just off the coast of the Keys that will be moving over the state of Florida. Now, as we head into the weekend, here's the estimated timing. And as we get into the next 24 to 36 hours, we expect most of the winds to stay offshore. Now, when we'll start to see the impacts across the Gulf Coast as early as Sunday morning, and that's when we're going to start to see those winds move through parts of Louisiana. So if you live in this area from eastern Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, you really need to have your action ready to roll because things are going to happen quickly. And then as we head in after that, we'll be watching the storm potentially move inland, of course, where it will be likely a huge rainmaker. These tropical systems can dump 6, 10, 12 inches of rain before they actually weaken. So that will be a big concern as we head into the first part of next week. We'll continue to update you on that, you guys. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
And we are expecting many more storms in the tropics this hurricane season. The National Hurricane Center is forecasting for a very busy season, an above normal hurricane season with 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 6 major hurricanes. That's, of course, Category 3 and above.
Something to look for there, and look, there's Aaron. He's joining us.
Yeah.
Boy, we lucky to have him.
Yes, that's MyRadar storm chaser Aaron Jack coming to us from, I believe it's Chadron, Nebraska. I mean, Aaron's all over the place. I mean, all over covering the United States. So many miles on that Subaru. How's things looking out there, Aaron?
Pattern's been a little slow here. I think you're okay. Pattern is more like a July August pattern almost right now. But looks like the severe threat here the next couple of days is going to ramp up. Actually, could be one of the best severe threats for a storm chaser if you're targeting those tornadoes out in the rural areas. And as you can see back here behind me, this is rural Nebraska here, looking north into South Dakota. So there's plenty of open fields out here for tornadoes, and it looks like I said, that best opportunity of the season so far to see those rural tornadoes is looking to come up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I'm actually going to be targeting some storms here today as well that look like they could be rolling off the Black Hills here near Rapid City in South Dakota, working their way across the state. So I'll be targeting those this afternoon.
So, Aaron, a lot of people have been watching you on Twitter and on our social media feeds. They absolutely have a huge following. And, last year we all were watching as you were chasing Dorian among several other storms. I'm curious, I talked to you off camera a lot through our Slack channel. How have you become such an expert on so many different types of weather phenomena? You chase tornadoes, you chase winter storms, and you chase hurricanes. And I know that you're looking at the modeling like we are. You're looking at a lot of technical information. What are some of the tools that you use that you have in your toolbox when you're trying to figure out which storm you're going to chase and which one you aren't going to chase?
I use those same tools, and depending on the time of the season, if it's winter, I'm looking mostly at the CFS, and knowing that, some of those models have to be distributed and that you're not, this model says you're going to have to go so much. Photographing, good tools out there, the land and whatnot. And so, I look at those same models, and depending on the season, like right now, it's kind of early hurricane season. I know Super Bowl out there burning, but it's not generally, this time of year isn't generally, the climate isn't generally conducive to those storms blowing up into those big hurricanes. But it is conducive to the big monster tornado producing supercells in the northern plains. And so I've kind of been, for right now, it's been a tricky decision this last few days of deciding, like, do I focus on the tropics or do I focus on the northern plains? And I've been mostly leaning towards those northern plains, looking like that's going to be more of a bigger impact. At least, I like the artistic side of things as well, of nature. And so with those big supercells, I can really capture that artistic beauty. And there is some of that artistic beauty with hurricanes when you can get to see those outer bands of those big hurricanes coming ashore. And those things are beautiful before it comes ashore. But once the hurricane comes on shore, it's more about the damage and the wind and the rain. And in this particular hurricane coming up, tropical cyclone, actually it's not a hurricane yet, it may not even make a hurricane status, but with this particular tropical cyclone right now, it looks like it's going to largely be a rainmaker. So in that regard, being a storm chaser, I think I'm going to focus on that northern plains threat this weekend. And knowing that, the hurricane season is just getting going, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's words that you've used, I still steal those words from you, Leslie, but it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. It looks like we're going to have a pretty long hurricane season or tropical season, or not long, but a pretty potent, potentially tropical season. So, I think there's going to be a lot of potential targets later on this season.
So, Aaron, you've been spending so much time out in the plains, of course, covering tornadoes. How do you make that transition into tropical? Is there a difference in your approach to chasing these storms when you go from tornadoes to tropical systems?
At least for me, I stay out on the road for weeks at a time, and so I have a lot of supplies that I need on hand in the Subaru that I keep. I keep first aid supplies. I keep plenty of water, food, and whatnot. So there isn't a big transition for that to tropical chasing. There is a little bit, I carry gas with me when I chase hurricanes because gas, the gas stations can go offline and there isn't gas shortages in general. So I'll carry more gas with me for tropical chasing. But really the biggest difference for chasing comes when you go from the hurricane chasing to winter chasing. And, it's a whole different set of clothing, and you got to have winter survival gear, make sure your vehicle can handle winter snow and whatnot. So that's quite a big difference there, going from the tropical chasing obviously to, I think last year I was chasing hurricanes, just after Dorian, a couple of weeks after Dorian, I was in Montana with that first blizzard in September last year. So, it's going from the tropics to the blizzards, it kind of can be kind of jarring.
Thanks so much for joining us, Aaron. I mean, it's always a blast to talk to you. Love the quarantine beard, by the way. It seems like every time we see you on social media, it's getting longer and longer. Who knows where it's going to look, what it's going to look like at the end of hurricane season. Thanks so much for joining us, Aaron, and stay safe out there.
You too.
Bye, Aaron.
Well, and now, as we're getting ready for the tropical season, great time to record some of the things in your home, document everything, because we all know the worst part about the storm is afterwards cleaning up, and that means insurance claims, and that can be a real headache. So here are some tips on how to make that much less stressful.
You've got your kit, you've got your plan, you're ready for the next storm. But are you ready for what happens after the storm passes? When the winds are calm and the rains have ended, it's time to come back and assess the damage. Hopefully it's minimal, but there are times where you may need to file an insurance claim for damage to your home, your vehicles, or your belongings. Here's what you can do to make that process less stressful. Take a walk around your home, inside and out. You'll want an inventory of your valuables like jewelry, electronics, and important documents. Take photos and email them to yourself, or upload to a secure folder on your preferred cloud storage service like Google Drive, Dropbox, or iCloud. This is also a great time to look for any areas of your property that may need a little TLC before the storm arrives. Make sure to document the condition of your home to show the insurance company it's well maintained. Focus on areas like your fence and your roof. Keep any receipts from recent repairs too. So having photo documentation of all the valuables in your home will make the process of filing a claim that much easier.
So all some good things to try to practice as we head into the season, and just make sure you help yourself in the future by preparing now.
Because there's so many things I think people forget. Jewelry, sometimes your kids' technology. Kids have so much of that now. iPads, computers, and you really do need to take a catalog. And not only for hurricane season, but God forbid you get broken into. You've already got this stuff taken care of. If there's a fire or some catastrophic event, it's a really good idea to get all that stuff down and video it and picture it and catalog it.
And if you've done any recent repairs, keep those receipts, because that factors into that too. Maybe since the last time you've updated your policy, you may not have had those records over to your insurer. So all great tips there, I think, to help get things wrapped up just in time for the season.
And, you know, if you have a question, we've been trying to get folks interested and engaged. We have got some answers for you guys. Tomorrow's show is going to be dedicated to all of your questions, and you still have time to submit it, but you need to do it today because we've got to get it into our computer system. So if you've got a question, now's the time to get it done. You can email us at myradarwx@myradar.com. You can also leave it in the comments. We are checking all of our social media platforms, seeing if you've asked questions. We got a few there, and we'll continue to post those. And again, the entire show tomorrow, anything tropical, hurricane related, we will answer them tomorrow.
And we have a question we're going to answer on the air right now. This comes to us from Suzanne Spindler, and she asks, since it's been cooler, will we see fewer hurricanes this year? And I think that's an interesting question because there's just so much that goes into it, you guys. It's really like an onion. It's got layers kind of deal.
I mean, if you're simply looking at the start of the season so far, I mean, we've had maybe not necessarily the hurricanes, but we've already had several named storms, a record-setting season already so far.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations where there are larger global-scale climate systems that will affect the ability of these systems to organize into tropical cyclones, and it's a very interesting way to look at it. But, I mean, if what we've had so far is any tale to tell so far into the future, we're on our third storm already. So, yeah.
And you know, one of the global patterns we look at is La Nina versus El Nino. And so we're in a La Nina, we think, a weak El Nina season, and so we think that's going to help ramp up the activity, not actually deflate it. We were actually we've been in some El Nino patterns where it's been busy, so they're not a true telltale sign, but it has to do with the warming and the cooling of the waters off the Pacific Ocean and how that plays out with upper level wind patterns and suppresses convection and can suppress what we call wind shear. But in this particular season, the National Hurricane Center thinks La Nina is playing a role, and actually it's not the cooler temperatures that we get in the atmosphere that you feel here, wherever you are in the United States, it's actually the sea surface temperatures that play a major role. And the sea surface temperatures have been creeping up a little bit every year, which again kind of plays on that global stage of climate change and climate warming. So the National Hurricane Center is forecasting an above average season because of these patterns that we're seeing in the atmosphere that can help promote more tropical activity, less wind shear in the Atlantic basin, little warmer sea surface temperatures, and that can help foster more tropical development.
Yeah, with those warmer sea surface temperatures, I mean, you have Cristobal, which downgraded to a depression, which moved over land. As soon as it moves over the Gulf of Mexico, the National Hurricane Center expecting it to ramp right back up and get stronger. It's like putting a pot of water on a burner that's on. So it's going to get going again.
Something interesting about the Gulf of Mexico, we saw this with storms like Katrina. It's very warm water, but within the Gulf of Mexico, there are studies being done about these things called warm eddies. So they're very deep pockets of warm water that act like a turbo boost for these storms. And so that's why I think the Hurricane Center is definitely maintaining a more conservative forecast with this, where we still think we will see a storm, even though Cristobal has weakened so much. And Leslie, you're from South Florida, so you know, like anyone else will say, it only takes one storm. Hurricane Andrew, first storm of the season in 1992, came all the way in August, and that was enough for the folks in South Florida to really understand the serious nature of these storms.
And I think, you know, you read the discussion from the Hurricane Center, they, like you mentioned, it's the weakest link in forecasting is the intensity track. You look at the models, I looked at them this morning, everything's staying below a hurricane. There's one model, the ships, that kind of takes it to a Cat 1. But again, it's because we don't know what's going to happen once it reemerges into the Gulf. We've seen rapid intensification in many storms over the last couple of years. So folks really need to watch this weekend. Keep an eye on all of that, and we'll let you know too as well. In fact, I think we're going to take another look at Cristobal and to give you a quick look at the information from the National Hurricane Center. And as we look at the infrared imagery, we've been kind of watching what's been going on here. There's been not a whole lot of activity in terms of thunderstorms in the center of this system, but once it gets into that Gulf, that's where we're all talking about things are going to get interesting. And the National Hurricane Center, again, ramping it back up, back into a tropical storm. We expected it to weaken to a depression, and still keeping that cone, you guys, relatively honed in there across Louisiana. Now, we don't want to rule out parts of eastern Texas or Mississippi or really the Gulf Coast, because things can change. The center could reform. So we have to really stay vigilant this weekend. We'll have a lot more info once it gets into the Gulf and we can initialize a true center of circulation and it's over the Gulf. But for now, you know, it's definitely something we've got to watch. These also, we talked about this earlier in the week, can be massive flood makers and can really catch people off guard and be extremely deadly.
Yeah, it's definitely something we'll have to watch for going into the weekend. I know a lot of folks are planning to, you know, Friday's that day, you go and rest, and we want you to be calm. We'll be in the MyRadar app. You can check out the fast forecast, and we'll be covering this throughout the weekend to keep you in the know of what's going on. And it's just going to be something we'll have to wait and see exactly where the ingredients set up to guide this storm.
Right, you can see all the social media handles. They're right there at the bottom of the screen. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So we've got you covered on all of those platforms to keep you in the loop to navigate the storm.
And we just want to remind you, too, that you can get into the app and tap the wind layer if you don't have that turned on. That's a great way to actually track Cristobal. It is a free service that we have in the app, the wind layer product. So once it reemerges, you'll be able to see that center of circulation. You'll be able to track it. All of the storm watches and warnings will also post. You'll get notification on those as well. If there are any tropical storm warnings or watches posted for the U.S., you will also get a notification on those. So once it reemerges, or even now, you can tap on the wind layer and see where the actual center is, and we encourage you to do that. And once it gets into the Gulf, it'll be a lot easier to track. For now, oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You can track those current storms too, so you should be able to see Cristobal's path there. We have satellite tracking now. Always new and exciting things coming to the app.
So we're going to wrap things up for today, you guys. We want to thank you again for joining us. Tomorrow, again, will be strictly dedicated to answering your questions, and we would love to see you get engaged with us, because the more you know, the better you can be prepared.
Don't be shy. Send them on in.
That's right. So on behalf of Stefanie Lauber and meteorologist Mike Linden, we want to thank you guys again for joining us again today of our 5-part series. I can't believe we're on day 4. Tomorrow's our last day, and we hope that the info we provided you so far this week has helped you, and we look forward to talking with you tomorrow and answering your questions live. Have a great afternoon.